RedZoneSports.Bet, the British home of American sports.
Hi boys and girls, welcome to the Sports Heads. I'm Simon Millen from Lindy's Sports, and we're going to take you through some of the big games approaching ahead of week 15. Of course, 3 games left of the regular season, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Matt Phillips from ukdraftguide.com, and also, that's not easy to say actually, you need to change that website, and also Sam Morgan from the Verge magazine over in there with the lovely hat on. Like that. Suits you.
Cheers, mate.
Style king over there, as always. The LA Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs is where we're going to start. And it's an early start. Of course, it's a Saturday game, the late game on Saturday. The Chiefs have won the last 7 meetings, and the Chargers have won 2 of the last 7 in Kansas City. Chargers are on a roll, though, and the Chiefs got back on track last week. Matt, you're a Chiefs fan. I'm going to start with you. Where do you see this one going?
I mean, obviously we've got, this is the big one, isn't it? We've got the division title is on the line here.
We can have a look at the division table.
It's playoff football, isn't it? We look at it now.
The table there. Kansas City 7-6. They're the 4th seed, so they are in the playoff places at the moment.
Yeah.
The Chargers are the 8th seed on the outside looking in, 7-6. So it is all to play for.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers have got the momentum. You know, Philip Rivers is having an MVP type season, turning around the team from an 0-4 start to really pushing the Chiefs. This is going to be one of those games. You know, I think, putting aside any sort of personal fandom, I think this game, it's Arrowhead Stadium is at its best and most intense during an evening game under the lights. I think what you saw from the Chiefs at the weekend was a team that had been criticised, written off, and all round abused really all week, even from their own fans. And you never really want to write off a team like happened to Pittsburgh earlier in the season. They were written off all week. Yeah. Same with the Chiefs, and I think what you saw there, particularly on defence, was that intensity was back. His back's against the wall. It was gang tackling, swarming around the football. So I think if Chiefs can keep that going, also an interesting sort of point, when Philip Rivers has played in Kansas City, he's not had a particularly good record against the Chiefs. And with Marcus Peters going up against Allen's only averaged 6 receptions for 60 yards in those performances. So I think when you the matchups are pretty even. I like the momentum of the Chargers. I'm totally scared of the Chargers, if you be honest.
You beat them 24-10 in week 3. That was very early days when the Chargers were in there, a little bit of a rout, 0-4 start.
I think both teams were in different places. I think the Chiefs were rolling at that point. The run game was going great. You know, a lot of the newly installed offense was new to opponents at that point, and they had the momentum, and then obviously that swung the other way. I think this game is almost too close to call. I'd say the Chiefs have a slight edge. I think they've got back on track. The running game was back again. The offensive line was impressive at the weekend. So it's going to be a great game to watch, whichever team you support.
Okay, Sam, the interesting thing for me is Philip Rivers looking for a 4th consecutive 300-yard passing game. How important is he to that team?
He's everything to that team, and he's been not just ability. You're seeing his experience now and his leadership actually really shine through now. I think you don't go through a blip and not come out of it without having those leaders on and off the field, and he's proving that now, and he's obviously setting things by example. In terms of the game itself, I think obviously stats don't lie, and as you used to always say, stats don't lie. But and obviously their record is not great at the Chiefs. I think that just with the Chiefs though, they've had some the rookies like Kareem Hunt, where there wasn't enough sort of game tape on him as well. Now people are sort of picking up and finding players like himself out now, and that's probably why they've had a little bit of a few issues along the way. Yes, okay, they won last week. I just think momentum does have a massive part, and we obviously diving into it and seeing when they actually played each other each time at the Chiefs and the circumstances. I still fancy the Chargers for this game. I think, I'm not saying they're going to blow them away. I think it'll be close, as it would be as a divisional game. But as you just said there about Rivers, I think just that leadership will shine through again this week, and they'll take it.
Cracking game. Good.
I think the thing with Rivers is that he doesn't do particularly well against the pass rush. And whenever Rivers has played in Arrowhead Stadium, Houston's back, he's fully healthy now. You've got Tamba Harley as well.
Makes a big
They've
difference,
had a lot of joy against that offensive line, so that's going to be a key. Can they keep Rivers clean?
Okay. Biggest talking point, of course, is Aaron Rodgers coming back this week. Potentially, they say he will start. Packers go to the Panthers. That's a really cracking game on the look of it. I mean, obviously it's been playoff time a little while now for the Green Bay Packers. The Panthers obviously beat Minnesota last week. Yeah. So it's a really fascinating contest. One of the biggest games of the week.
Don't know what you're going to get with the Panthers though. You just don't. No, you just don't know. But will they? In normal circumstances, if you're playing and someone says, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing," you'd be a bit. Oh. But I don't think that would be I know I'd be telling myself, "Let's go after him." But let's see what he's got and see, test it. And we've just said, we've spoke about it already. I touched on it in the playbook. Is that let's see if that shoulder is healthy. What the opposite is if it is healthy and he obviously starts airing it out a little bit, then you're a bit like, okay, we've obviously got to step it up. But I'd really go after them. And as I mentioned about the linebackers having a bit of added pressure there, I'd really sort of take it to them. So, and they haven't been at their best.
Sure. And interesting, funny you say that. I mean, you look at Green Bay; they've got a really decent record at Carolina and Charlotte. I think the last 8 of the last 9 times they've been there, they've scored 24 points or more. They've not necessarily won them all. I think it's something along the lines. They've won 6 of the last 9 meetings against them, but it's still a great record.
Yeah, I just think that the Panthers have found their identity again on defense, which has been their kind of staple. You've got Kawan Short and Stardo Tulele, and Julius Peppers as well. They've really started getting downfield and putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks again, which wasn't really happening in the first half of the season. And when you're thinking about putting Aaron Rodgers in there, that's for him personally, that's a scary prospect. But you wouldn't put it past Rodgers to turn it on. But I like the way that they've gone back to a pressurising defence, and also you've got they've let Cam Newton be Cam now. If you take the running attack if you take the running nature away from Cam Newton, he's going to be a shadow of himself. Sure. Cam Newton is about getting out, into the open field, and obviously we saw that on the weekend.
But interesting, he's been getting pretty clean pockets. I mean, they've won 5 of the last 6 as well. So, admittedly, the team, the quality win actually was against the Vikings, but they were kept close to half-time against Miami a couple of weeks ago. Are they really legit?
I think they're playing into form. I think they've gone back to basics. I think
they're not a team you want to face, I think.
No, they're not. Particularly not. And I just think that going back to basics and letting Cam be Cam and using his legs, playing hard defence as well. They've got obviously the two quickest linebackers in the game, and the secondary is okay. It'll stand up. Really, if they stick to what we saw at the weekend, I think they should be.
But that's what they've done. Like you said, they've had to go back to what actually works for them. I feel maybe there was some meat in there somewhere down the line to go, look, if we get found out here, we need to come up with a backup plan, so let's lead with that. But it's like, no, stick to your strengths, get the W, move on. And now, like you say, they've gone back to that and let him loose. And if you notice, we're not seeing any dodgy press conferences anymore from Cam. So maybe there was a little bit of a unhappy. Hey, his clothing's all right, I don't mind that. His combos sometimes are a bit off, but I don't mind them.
I was going to say, there speaks the voice of GQ over there.
I'll take the GQ contract if it comes. Yeah,
I think coach overthinking is one of the most annoying things. I think I know they've got to second guess each other, but you get someone like Cam Newton, a talent like that, and you limit him to one half of his game. It's so frustrating as a fan. I know it's easy as a fan to.
And the fans need their stars as well, and he is a gregarious character, and I think that's partly why we
let
love
him express himself.
Talking of expressing themselves, the Rams haven't expressed themselves particularly well at the Seahawks over the past few years. They've won 5 of the last 25 meetings against them, but the Seahawks are banged up. Who have we got in this one?
Oh, Rams. I mean, the Seahawks are banged up, and it's not the same Rams team we've seen in the last 5 years, is it? I mean, it's completely we wrote them off at the start, didn't we? I think everyone did, and you've seen obviously the weapons that they've got. I'm just conscious sometimes of Goff lately, kind of watching his consistency when the going gets tough. I think you see the great quarterbacks when it's not going their way will pull something out of the bag. I feel like Goff needs to have everything, all the cards in the right place for his game to work, which is the only concern with the experience that Seahawks do, even if they are banged up. So that's the only sort of flip side. I'm not trying to sit on the fence because I do think the Rams will win, but I can just see that being a little bit of issue. It is experience. You know, against sort of the novice.
You look at that certainly going ahead to the playoffs, don't you? I mean, you have an experienced line now, but you don't have an experienced quarterback. He hasn't had that many reps. But I mean, likewise, you look at Seattle and you say, as we said in the betting show, that the Seattle Seahawks don't seem to get enough pressure up front, and they're dropping players in to make up for those that are missing in the back end. So,
they don't trust the back end, and that's understandable. I mean, they're pretty much relying on Frank Clark getting to the quarterback. If that doesn't happen, then they're not rushing the quarterback through group rushing. They're rushing just Frank Clark. And also, what makes the Seattle defense so strong is the fact that you've got Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright, both of them not likely to play this weekend. Their guys actually they're great between the sidelines. You know, they can't really beat them on the outside. And we saw that at the weekend where it's
lateral movement.
You could beat them around the edge.
Lateral speed.
That's 3 of the team's top tacklers. Top 2 are out. That's 184 tackles on the season. You're taking out of the team. So if you're the Rams, if you run heavy and ball control the clock, go heavy with Todd Gurley, then I think. But for me, to be honest with you, saying that, I still think the Seahawks will win because of the home advantage, and because Wilson again he's having an MVP season where his talent alone is dragging that team into playoff contention.
Your man crush got a bit of a beating last week. I saw Mr.
Which
Andrew
one?
Whitworth.
Did he?
Yeah, you're one that you must have mentioned about 1 million times at the early part of the
It's
stage.
my man crush. It was his birthday yesterday. 2 days ago was his birthday.
But he's been important, and I want to see how healthy he is, because he did look like he got banged up a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see, because he does play. That's another person, as I say, another card that needs to be in there for Goff's game to kind of work as well, and the Rams as a whole.
He'll be fine. He's eating lots of birthday cake. He'll be just fine. Don't you worry.
The person that made the cake, probably.
Seahawks. I mean, if they win, regardless, they've got to play the Cowboys and the Cardinals in the last 2 games, whereas the Rams have got the Titans and the 49ers. Now the Rams, to me, looks as though they're in the driving seat. Will it matter if they lose this one? Who have you got ultimately going to the playoffs?
I still take the Rams.
Or both. They could easily have both go.
Yeah, I think the Rams. But I think the Seahawks. There's only so far you can take it. One guy dragging you through games with his magic. However great he is. That's not a formula for long-term success. So I'm still with the Rams because they've just got a more complete game, and the running game with Gurley. Gurley's back to Georgie Gurley.
Exactly.
Nice. Couldn't agree more.
Fantasy people will be looking at Todd Gurley this week against that
100%.
defense. Let's just have a look at the last game we're going to have a look at. Is the Patriots at the Steelers.
What a game!
Now this has become a really interesting one. Bear in mind that that they lost down in Miami again on Monday night, which some of us were pleased with, some of us wouldn't be so pleased with.
It's like their kryptonite, isn't it?
It is kryptonite, yeah. Tom Brady though has won 10 of his last 12 starts against the Steelers, and he also hasn't thrown an interception against the Steelers in 12 years. Can you believe that? It's incredible.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Who have we got, chaps?
I'm going to go with the Steelers. Just they got this little bit of fire in their belly again. I can see that they're looking to really sort of prove to how many people wrote them off, and I think we mentioned it earlier in the show. They did get written off along the line, and I think they did that little bit of fire in their belly. But you can't write off the Patriots. But I'm just gonna, for me, if I'm gonna go with someone, go with the Steelers, just because I think the weapons that they've got will probably overcome what the Patriots can throw at them this week.
Did they just get caught looking ahead a little bit last week, Patriots?
Well, I mean, a 16-game schedule is such a meat grinder, isn't it? Of course, it would be human nature, wouldn't it, to look ahead to the bigger game. But I think if you win a game, you win it on merit, and you lose a game because you didn't turn up on the day. They
weren't just beaten either; they were beaten badly. I mean, the score was 27-20, but they struggled all the way through. 0-13 on third down conversions. That's
you have
really
to grind.
rare.
But you have to keep it going. You can't take a loss and then expect to bounce back with a win. You cannot do it.
They do have Rob Gronkowski back this week, which is a massive. Massive.
I'm not. But you can't. Just the momentum of the other players is what you can't. It's like, right, we've got to come back. You add that bit of pressure. You can't rely on that. And let's not forget they didn't have the fastest start again, and they never really do. No. But it was probably slower than it has been. Yeah. And I think we're just seeing again. It's another team, another aging team where we're seeing they need to sort of.
Good point.
They need to keep bringing it. sorry to the older chaps on the panel, but you know, the legs do go. You know, and there's going to be a point where you cannot keep repeating that, and that's another reason I'm kind of saying that actually you look at the Steelers, and Juju's back in this week as well. You're just adding more sort of, you know, Martez Bryant's obviously there on the side as well. You've got to go, well, actually, there's two young guys that can come in and give the old guys sort of less reps when they need to, and it's just they've got that to just run over people.
I mean, obviously the massive loss, and our hearts go out to him, is Ryan Shazier, who's a key component of the Steelers' defense.
Absolutely, they look a totally different defense without him. I mean, again, we're talking about guys that can get to the boundaries and have that sort of that big range that he does against the outside run, and that was, you know, Baltimore really took advantage of that. And it looks a totally different team now on defense without Shazier. They just don't have a replacement to come in to defend the run and defend the run to the boundary. But I'm the same as you, Sam. I think that, you know, I think most New England fans would admit that their roster is a flawed one, particularly on defense. I mean, they're amongst the worst teams against the pass and the rush.
You think Matt Patricia is a bit lucky, don't you?
Well, I do, yeah. I do. It's not just hatred of a fellow beard man, but I just think that
it's the greatest beard in
it is.
You can see there, though. I mean, you've got to see the guys that obviously can see the graphic.
And when
there,
you think about the weapons you were talking about on the Pittsburgh side, I just think that, and there's no pass rush really to speak of.
No, well, they do play a 3-4 though. To be fair to them.
Yeah, so, they do. They just don't get enough pressure on big men. I just think.
God, look how far down they are there. Sort of defense.
That was a lot to do with the start of the season, but those old question marks came back to me last week. I mean, there were receivers running, Miami receivers running all over the place, and no pressure up front on Jay Cutler. I mean, for all his flaws, Jay Cutler can throw a decent ball when he's given time.
Yeah, there's just no pass rush that you're going to be scared of. Coming from the Patriots, and they've got so many holes on that team. It's amazing the job that Bill Belichick's done, and obviously having Tom Brady to actually to bring them through to this point and to have the record they have. So I'm going with Steelers. And
it's at Pittsburgh, and we know what they're like at home.
It's going to be a shootout this game. If you're looking for a shootout,
it does look that way, doesn't it? Much as it was against Baltimore last week.
It's going to be a classic game, I think.
Yeah, could be one to look out for among many this weekend. Gentlemen, it's been fantastic. Sam Morgan from The Verge magazine, Matt Phillips from
UKDraftGuide.com.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
We're the SportsHeads. I'm Simon Millen from Liddy Sports. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy it. Stick with us because we'll be looking at some betting show angles in a bit.
RedZoneSports.Bet, the British home of American sports.
Hi, welcome back to the SportsHeads. This is the betting part of the show. We're going to take a look at some of the games upcoming in Week 15. I'm Simon Millen from Liddy Sports. My top team alongside me today are Matt Phillips down at the end there from UKDraftGuide.com. And we've also brought in Nick. We've drafted you in actually, Nick Geltner, representing Red Zone Sports. He's a familiar face to the people that watch the NBA show, and we drafted him in because he went 14 out of 15 last week on the handicap, so he knows a thing or two.
How lucky.
Gents, we're going to have a look at Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Detroit's 6-point favourites. They've won, surprisingly, I think it's 8 of the last 9 meetings, although the last 5 meetings have been settled by 4 points or less. I've gone with Detroit here, bearing in mind they're 7-6. They need to win this to continue in the playoffs. Matt, who have you got?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Chicago do need to win this one.
Detroit need to win it too.
Even better, right?
They need to win it as well. That's why they play these games.
But they do. Well, I think they do. Chicago do need to prove something. They've got something to go with for next season and to carry on the good work of last weekend's progress. I've got Detroit in this one. I like the line as well. As you say, the history is on their side as well. And Detroit like to keep these sort of games pretty close, like they did in Tampa on Sunday. So I think it goes sort of to and fro the whole game, I think, and he's probably thrown a couple of Stafford interceptions in there as well. But I like them to win. I just think it means more to them than it does at Chicago at this point. And -6. Perfect. Yeah, I like
they are the 8th seed. They're chasing Seattle and also the Falcons.
Yeah.
They've got the Bengals and the Packers in the last 2 games, so they are still in the hunt. We don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to face, how he's going to face up with his shoulder injury still. It does take a little while to heal, but he is back this weekend apparently. So, Nick, I don't know what your thoughts on this Lions-Bears game. They always seem to be tight games, don't they?
They do, and I think I like the Lions to win this one. I think basically what you said as well. They've got something to play for. So they're the hungry team, but the fact that it's that division rivalry and the Bears, I go from a fantasy kind of point of view. I like the Bears, but something on the field they just don't do it exactly.
Yeah.
They're a great running team.
I think they'll keep it close. I think probably the -6 is probably about right. So for me, I would go with Detroit, but I think it will be a close game.
We're all on the Lions, so you know what's going to happen.
That's it. Exactly. Blowout.
Next game, gents, is the New York Jets at the New Orleans Saints. Now, the New Orleans Saints are 14.5-point favourites. Now, Warren, who usually sits there in Nick's place, would tell me off for saying you can't go backing big spreads like that. But actually, big spreads have been covering in the last few weeks. Yeah. And I think this is possibly another one. Jets have never lost consecutive trips to New Orleans, but they have lost 5 of the last 7 meetings. Now, I'm going to start with Nick because you are a Jets fan.
I am a Jets fan.
I feel for you.
No, well, I'm having a good year so far. I'm happy with them. Not in this game, though. I think it's the Saints all the way.
Right.
The Jets, the thing is, the one strength, the offensive impressed me, but the strength is the defense. So when I see -14.5, that's a hell of a lot of points. Against any other team, I'd probably say no, but with Drew Brees, and again, at this point, they're playing for something.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised how hard they've been playing, the Jets? Bearing in mind, at the start of the season, everyone was talking about, they're going to tank. They've got rid of all these big-priced, experienced players, and they've also lost Josh McCown as well this week, and Bryce Petty's coming in. Yeah. So have you been surprised by the Jets this year?
I've been pleasantly surprised the whole season. Every game I'm kind of thinking this is the one where we're going to look bad, and they have impressed me. I mean, I didn't go in thinking we're going to make the playoffs or anything like that. So anything is improvement, heading towards next year. But as a whole, it's the defense that has impressed me, and that is what I thought would be the strong point, and they've held up. For the most part, I can't remember them getting blown out at any point this year, really.
That defensive line just.
Apart from Denver last week.
Apart from Denver, I was about to say, except for the last week's game, which it does worry me for this one.
Who had been trounced by the Dolphins previously. Yeah. So, it's...
okay, maybe I made that last.
It's any given Sunday at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
If you're a team that doesn't necessarily have a lot to play for, I think sometimes we kind of make more of what teams are potentially playing for. I think a lot of teams are kind of mailing it in now. They know realistically in themselves they're not going to make it.
Sure. Possibly. I mean, it's a psychological thing, isn't it? But then, I worry about the Jets that they don't seem to get enough pressure up front, and you give Drew Brees all sorts of time, and of course they've got to win this because after that, they've got to bounce back after that.
No, that's right, and that's why a hungry Drew Brees scares me. So
okay. Yeah. Will they cover the spread then?
Again, any other team, I'd say no, but I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. As a Jets fan, I probably will not be watching this game.
No, I agree with you. I mean, when I first saw the line, I did sort of balk at it. 14.5-point favourite. Sometimes, most of the time, I still think that's maybe a little bit too much, too generous. But the fact that the Saints are at home, it's a must-win game in that really competitive NFC South.
What about Bryce Petty? I mean, he was a 4th-round pick, 2013, and he went 1-3 in Chan Gailey's system, I believe. He has, got injured. He played really well in pre-season, then got injured in the last pre-season game against the Giants. It's a big chance for him.
It is, but I seem to feel that he's had a number of chances, and although I was a big fan of him in college for Baylor, but the offense he's playing is just so far removed from what he has to do in the NFL, and I just think that. He just didn't have enough talent to be able to bridge that gap, whereas other guys from similar offenses can do that. I like the Saints here. 14.5 seems to be pretty realistic. I'm the same as Nick. I've been impressed with the Jets this season, and it seems like the media have to have somebody to kick when they're down in the off season, and somebody who they
got the Giants,
and somebody who they love as well. That perhaps not necessarily deserved. I just think that the Jets have given it their best shot now.
100 yards of offense against Denver, and that was with McCown. That's slightly worrying when you got Petty, but he's got nothing to lose. The Jets have got nothing to lose. I mean, that's.
I was surprised that the Jets, the two receivers, Curse and Robbie Anderson. Two guys I really like.
Love them.
Well, Anderson's played well with Petty. I mean, they've had a lot of reps together, so that's something to look for.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do anything in Denver. I know Denver's not quite as scary against the pass as what's made out this season. They haven't quite down knee on defense.
Yeah, I was surprised at that too. And they were like, I think that.
I was surprised the Dolphins manhandled them actually the week before. So
surprises me as well. Actually, yeah.
As a Jets fan, you would.
Yes.
Okay, so we're thinking. I'm certainly thinking that the Jets will cover. be blown out, and the Saints will cover that 14-point spread. Nick?
I hate to say it, but yeah,
Yep.
I got to agree.
Matt?
Yeah, I do. I agree as well. I think it'd be close for the first quarter, but I think once the Saints get their noses in front, then you're talking about human nature kicking in. The Jets be thinking of the off season.
Yeah. Warren Lambias would love us.
Well,
The Rams are 1-point dogs going to Seattle. A massive game in the NFC West. The Rams lead the division. I'm a bit gutted, actually. Jermaine Johnson, I was talking to him at the start of the season in Lindy's, and I sort of said, well, you're 25-1 to win your 4-team division. Should I have a pound on it? He said, absolutely. And I wish I had, and I didn't.
Right.
So apologies for that. Rams looking good at the moment, and Seattle have got all sorts of defensive problems.
They have indeed. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks to win the game. However, I in terms of pure matchups, then the Rams have got a huge advantage in this game. You're taking away three of the best 5 tacklers in that team.
Yeah, you've got Bobby Wagner's out, AJ Wright is out.
Yeah, and Cam Chancer's already gone.
Cam Chancer's
so
gone.
You know, you're taking away. Well, Wagner's got 86 stops. KJ Wright 65. That's the top 2 tacklers in the team.
They've also just faced Jacksonville as well, and they've been beaten up by Jacksonville. The 2 defensive starters from the back 7 were finished the game. So they're going there. Well, they're playing at home, obviously, but injury hit.
I think the fact that a home advantage, but also we're going to be talking about MVP in a later show. But I just think that it's the Russell Wilson factor. It's just going to be enough. If I went to the Rams, I'll go heavy. The running game is going to be the key for them. Todd Gurley looks like he's going to have a huge game in this one. But to me, it's just Russell Wilson keeps that team together. There's a lot of holes in that roster. It's a pretty average team at the moment in Seattle, but Russell Wilson at home, I think he'd just have enough.
Exactly, no, I agree. At home, I think that is going to be the deciding factor. And also the Rams, they're up and coming. I'm expecting them to, self-combust at some point, kind of thing. Whereas
we all were, really.
Well, but Seattle, they've been there, they've done that. I know it's not the same team now, but you often see that with the Rams. They're on the way. They're going to fall. Like the Eagles, for instance, they lost. And I think this will be the game for LA. It's just too much. It's too difficult of a place to go. Play in Seattle.
The worrying thing for me, I mean, they gave up 27 points, Seattle, after half-time, after Wagner went down. That they don't seem to have a lot of pressure up front, so that could cause a lot. Andrew Whitworth's going to have a lovely day just looking after Jared Goff.
That's right. Yep.
And they've been reluctant to blitz, which is slightly surprising because of the problems on the back end. They've been dropping players off to cover, so they're not getting pressure up front, which is giving the quarterbacks all day. Even the likes of Blake Bortles, who's not, bless him, he's not the most complete quarterback in the world. Still has his critics, but he's a game manager. But I wonder if they're not going to get enough pressure, and I think that's partly the reason I'm going with the Rams on the road here. And there wasn't a lot between them in that first game either.
No, and also the Rams are, most Seattle fans would know that the Rams are a bit of a bogey team for the Seahawks over time. And the game's usually quite low scoring in the main. I just think that Seattle is scared, obviously, with the players that they're missing in the back end. I think they're scared to blitz. Also, the big worry is as well that you take away KJ Wright, you take away Bobby Wagner. Those guys normally shut down the outside run of either the quarterback or the running back. So those guys not being there as well. There's a lot of tackles that would have been made against Jacksonville the other night that weren't, purely because Wagner wasn't on the field.
They are a run-first team, though, Jacksonville. But then you look at it and you've got weapons all over the place with the Rams. And as you say, fantasy owners will be looking at Todd Gurley this weekend. I don't blame them either.
Love Todd Gurley.
Well,
I think this is a kind of a new Seattle team, maybe just because of the injuries. Now it's all on Wilson now, isn't it? And it's all more so than ever.
Some would argue it's been with Wilson all season, but I get you. I totally agree with that, Nick. Last game we're going to come to is, actually the last and penultimate game. I've got the Dallas Cowboys 2.5-point favourites at the Oakland Raiders. I'm going with Dallas. The last 4 meetings have been won by the home team, which is a stat that scares me slightly. But what are your thoughts on it, Matt?
Yeah, I think I have to favour Dallas, but it's going to be a tighter game. I think some people realise. I've been quite interested in kind of the media reaction to the Chiefs beating the Raiders in that sort of hated derby, because I think when there was a 3-way tie in the AFC West, the Oakland Raiders have really been talked up, and because of the way that they lost to the Chiefs, I think undermines slightly how good the Chiefs were in that game. But also, I think that the Raiders I think they've gone as far as they can this season, but I still think they'll be playing hard. It's in Oakland as well. But I think it's going to be a close match. But minus 2.5, I'd definitely go with that.
Nick?
This is a tough one for me.
But you're the man. You're the one that gets them all right.
This is why I don't want to get it wrong. No, I'm actually going to go with the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to win this one.
Okay.
I have nothing to back that up with.
That's
so I'm
all
not
right.
sure why, but I do. I think,
That's
games like, this is why you bring in Marshawn Lynch. I know he hasn't had the greatest season, but I expect him to have a very big game in this.
Yeah,
this is
Atlanta
the
around
crunch
the corner.
times. It's do or die there. Oakland is where they wanted to be. They're fighting for the division now, and I think when there's a game on the line, something's on the line, that usually fires a team up more than Dallas. So I'm going to look for Oakland to win this one.
I'm impressed by Dak Prescott the last couple of weeks, and especially last week. I mean, against your enemies, the Giants. I mean, I thought he did a good job of reading his hot reads. He did a good job against the blitz. He got rid of the ball, got locked onto his receiver, got rid of the ball quickly. He seems to be trusting his arm a little bit more in the last couple of weeks. So maybe Dak Prescott is just about starting to catch fire again, which he had a bit of a dip mid-season, understandably so. I do like the Des Bryant and Cole Beasley matchups against that secondary, though. So that's why I've gone for Dallas, basically. So, last game. This will surprise you. Baltimore Ravens are 7-point favourites heading to the winless Cleveland Browns, and I'm going for the Browns.
Nice.
Great man.
I'll tell you why. Go on. Tell me who you think you got, Matt.
No, I'm going for the Ravens. I just think that I'm never usually one to kind of think that any team is going to go 0-16. It's just as hard to go 0-16 as it is to go 16-0. But I really think that the Browns blew it. That 21-7 lead on Sunday, that was
Against
the
Green
window.
Bay,
That was the game to go 1-15.
Okay.
So they've had their chance now. I think the Ravens, they're 7-6.
Yeah.
They're just inside the AFC
Yeah.
wildcard race, which is quite an intense race in itself. So there's a lot riding on it for them.
They're not just 0-13 either. They're 1-28 in the last two seasons.
that's
And
right,
just crazy. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is crazy.
Yeah, and how any head coach can kind of survive that and keep going, it's unbelievable. I just think the Ravens have a lot more quality, obviously, than the Browns. The Browns are showing, they are showing good progress. And to be honest with you, that roster should not be 0-13.
No.
You got Josh Gordon back as well, which is a big help.
Yeah.
And he looks hungry. He looks good as well.
He does.
Yeah, it gives them a
exactly.
vertical.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm with you on this, but I completely agree. I think the Browns, that was their week. I think that was the week last week to win
I
it.
fear that was their week.
But
yeah,
I think there's something there. There is,
Yeah.
and they got fired the GM, didn't they, recently? And they kind of
That's
said,
right.
we're
Got
not
John
that far
Dorsey
away.
in now. Yeah,
And I
it's
completely
Casey
agree
now.
with that.
Yeah.
I love the quarterback. I love Gordon being back.
Yeah.
There's
There are
something
pieces
there.
in
They're on
places.
their way.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm just going purely on historical trends. Now, I remember back in 2008, and it's a long time ago, was it 2008? In Miami when they were going winless, and Baltimore expected to win that.
That's
They
right.
lost that 1-30, I think it's 24-16 or something like that. But Miami came back and won that, and they were awful, and that was, I think, with the years of Cleo Lemon. So they are prone to playing down to their opposition.
Yeah.
And the last three games in Cleveland have been by the Baltimore have won by 5, 2, and 6 points.
Wow.
So not in that necessarily that order,
yeah.
but they've been close games. They've been under that spread. So, and I go back to last season where Pittsburgh went to Cleveland expecting to roll them over, and they only just got past them. So it can be the fact, weather can be a factor. I know Baltimore's a similar sort of environment, but I just think Cleveland might just give this one last roll of the dice. It's a division rivalry. I'm going to take the points because I think there are always upsets every week, and I think this could possibly just be one of them. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I'm saying they could be a lot closer than people expect.
Yeah, I think that from the team that we saw capitulate at Wembley,
Yes,
it's
true,
amazing that they are 7-6. But also the change from the team since then is that they've got this running game going with Alex Collins. The fact that Alex Collins was seen as surplus to requirements at the Seahawks is amazing in itself.
Exactly. The problems they've had running the ball this year.
Yeah, Alex Collins has gone back to the Arkansas Alex Collins, and they're getting the best out of him. They're playing, they're playing ground and pound football. If they stick to that, that obviously trumps the weather aspect. If they keep it simple, I think they should have enough to beat the Browns. What
slightly bothered me from a Cleveland perspective was the GM Jimmy Haslam. He's brought in John Dorsey, who was at Kansas City, as you know. He came out in the week and said something along the lines of, we're not going to be a decent franchise unless we get a decent quarterback. Now, how does that make the incumbents feel? You know, that's a slight, it's a real knock. Does it give you a kick up the backside, or does it make you think, you know, I'm going to prove these guys wrong, or do you think, well, I'm not going to be here, so what does it matter, you know?
I think the problem is that the Browns is not just the GM; it comes right from the top, and it's things like that. You don't build.
Well, he's the owner, Jimmy Haslam. Sorry, not the GM.
Yeah, so you know, I think it does stem from Haslam. You know, you were looking for your owner to encourage the team, and you have made an investment in guys. I mean, I didn't agree with the pick at the time because he was an inconsistent quarterback that season anyway for Notre Dame. So it's not classy, is it? And it's not going to help. No. But I think it kind of puts them. I mean, surely they're going to have to go again back into that quarterback market, which is another year wasted.
You had RG3. You've also got Colin Kaepernick on the market, and you say, I don't quite understand why these two aren't in the league for me still.
No, well, absolutely.
I like Kaiser. I think they're maybe the Browns are just in general kind of give up too soon. I think they're building something there. They have that Njeka, I believe his name is the tight end, Cleveland. I love that guy. Yeah. Plus with Gordon back, I even is it Duke with the running back? Cleveland's running back. Duke Johnson. I think there's something there, and to get in a new quarterback and just keep repeating the same cycle, I think is a problem.
Okay. They're going to need to change the culture because I think what happens is when you're 1-28, understandably, I was in that locker room this year. At Twickenham, and to say it was a frosty locker room. And a certain Kenny Britt had a few words to say to me while I was waiting for my pre-arranged interview with another guy. We'll leave that anyway. But I think that losing culture becomes ingrained just as much as a winning culture.
Correct.
And that losing culture is very difficult to change unless you're going to change the leadership in that locker room. So they're going to have a big influx of not just collecting thousands of draft picks, but they're going to need some experienced leaders to come in and change that into a winning formula. And I do think that I was impressed with John Dorsey because John Dorsey he comes from that Ron Wolf Green Bay school, which is all about it's about players, it's about what they do on film. It's not about analysis or Moneyball or any of these other things. Just play football, and they need to turn around the locker room because another, as you say, Nick, another quarterback comes in straight away. You walk into that locker room, and I was just there as a reporter, but somebody walking into that locker room as a rookie quarterback it's going to be intimidating to come into that losing culture, so you've got to change that first.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to put our necks on the line one last time. Then I'm obviously going to take the Browns with the points. You haven't helped me.
I hoped after that you weren't going to. I'm trying to deflect. I'm going to stick with the Ravens.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Ravens as well, but I'm hoping
Nick.
You're right.
All right.
I'm hoping I'm wrong and you're right.
Okay, well that was the betting show. One late piece of breaking news. It's rumoured that the New York Giants general manager Ben McAdoo, who was fired last week, said he'd had enough of working for the organisation because he'd been doing the work of two men, Laurel and Hardy. We're the SportsHeads. Goodbye.
American football and my hot cheerleaders. It'll make you feel like a Yank. RedZoneSports.Bet, the British home of American sports.